Hello friends. Any of you who watched my Tasman crossing video know that my Iridium Go failed 3 days from Sydney, which was unfortunate. I rely very heavily on this device ever since leaving Los Angeles. I think it's a fantastic device, but as electronics do at sea, sometimes things fail. We've received a nice big care package from Predictwind with a bunch of new goodies in it, so let's get into opening it up and seeing what's inside. Alright, let's get into it. Sent us some nice, beautiful caps. That's nice. Predictwind hats. Sent us a new Iridium Go. Very excited to have a new unit. Cables. More cables and connectors. And a data hub. There you have it. Okay, let's get into the ins and outs of all of this stuff. As I mentioned, my Iridium Go unit had failed 3 days from Sydney. I know this has happened with other channels and other people and stuff. Like I said, electronics in the sea, sometimes this stuff happens. I was lucky because I was only 3 days away and I had already downloaded the weather, so I knew that there was no, like, weather reports are good for about 3 days, you can really trust them. So I knew that there were no wild cards. It would have been a much bigger bummer had it happened, like, as soon as I left New Zealand. So I was lucky. And again, people sailed for centuries without being able to download the up-to-date weather forecast, so it wouldn't have been the end of the world. But when it's a tool of safety that you use and you rely on and you're used to, then we grow accustomed to it, and it is a much nicer life to be able to know what's coming. So I am happy to have a new Iridium Go unit. I reached out to Predictwind when I got to shore, had a chat with them, and we decided to work together. So they sponsored Tritea with their service, their professional service package, as far as like the data and all that stuff, the weather forecasting and stuff. And they sent us all of this kit to use on Tritea and to share with you guys so you can know what to expect with this gear. Here's the new unit. I love my Iridium Go. Even before they sent this kit, when, you know, I bought the one when I was in LA. So I didn't have any hookup back then. I paid for it. I paid for all the service for 3 years, almost 4 years. And it's fantastic. One of my favorite things about the Predictwind Iridium Go package was the tracker. It's been like a fantastic way to keep a detailed log of everywhere you've actually been, both visually and through the blog. The tracker it's very dear to my heart because it is like a way for me to look back at all the places I've gone. And it came in like crucially important when I lost all steering. My rudder failed 1,000 miles from Hawaii. My shore team saw this like hard turn on my track and they knew something was wrong. And for me to be able to have a detailed visual log and the written log that is on the tracker blog it means a lot to me. Especially as I move around the world. Like, by the time I finish my circumnavigation, I'll be able to, like, scroll across my little Predictwind tracker page and, like, see my track everywhere in the world I've been. To me, that's, like, priceless. Like, really a priceless thing to have. I have been just, since it failed, I had to manually update, which is far clunkier, and I ended up not being able to, since, you know, for the last, I don't know, 4 months or something, I haven't been able to have like the accuracy of my tracker blog, because I've just literally dropped in a couple of points showing my travel up the coast. But from here on out, I'll be able to get back to having a detailed, real-world, visual log of where I've been, where Tritea's been, and what we've seen, and being able to update the blog with journals as I do, and share with all of you guys and with everyone, and just as an archive for myself. Like I said, priceless is the best word to describe that. Another thing they included in the package is their new Datahub. I'm really excited about this. First person I knew that bought one of these is my buddy Andy from Sailing Soleil. He posted about it on Instagram, and I had seen like ads and stuff for this, but I was like, I thought it had to do with NMEA. I didn't know. I didn't think it had any application for me, because I have the Iridium Go, so I never bothered looking into what the Datahub was until Andy posted about it, and I was like, oh, and he mentioned that he was going to have the tracker and blog and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So I started looking into it, and it's really awesome. It's a small little unit that you hook up to your system. So that's how big it is. Super small. And the cool thing about this Datahub is they've opened it up so that, like used to, you had to have your Iridium Go to have the tracker blog. Like you had to have that subscription series and all that stuff to have access to their tracker. And now they've made it so you can buy this really affordable little Datahub. And then as long as you have their pro level of service for the year, it's like a yearly subscription. I can't recall the price off the top of my head, but as long as you have that yearly thing, which gives you access to all of their weather downloads and the tracker page and all that stuff, you can use this without having to pay the higher monthly subscription for an Iridium Go, which is awesome. So the main thing you'll need for this is some kind of connectivity to the internet, whether that be tethering it to your phone if you have cell phone service, or if you have Starlink. This will collect all of the data about where you're going and store it, and then upload it either in real time, or you can choose for it to upload whenever you get within cell range or something like that. But it will have stored all of that data offline, even if it's not updating in real time, based on your connective access at the moment. So I think this is a really awesome option for coastal cruisers who don't need the full access to Iridium Go. So like Iridium Go is perfect for ocean crossings, but I find that, you know, I can't afford to pay that extra Iridium Go monthly fee when I'm near shore, because I can check the weather using my phone. So this is like the perfect sort of middle ground, so that you have access to this really incredible tracker blog, the tracker website and the blog and all that stuff, and your friends and family can follow along and see where you're going, and you can keep track of all your adventures without having the larger cost of the Iridium Go package. So I am like super stoked about this, especially in the day and age where Starlink is more accessible. So, but even with just a cell phone, the Datahub is really cool, and it has a ton of options to where you can hook up, like if you have like an NMEA network, you can hook it up so that it stores all of your like wind and all of your boat polars and all of this like info data coming in. It'll be stored and then shared on your blog and everything. I have a very basic navigation setup, electronic setup on Tritea. All I use is an iPad and a little Garmin GPS puck. Like I don't have a built-in chart plotter, so I don't have some kind of big network. But if you have a more contemporary boat, or with a large sort of like you know, wind sensors and you know, a speed sensor and all that stuff, all of that info can be sent to the data hub, stored, and then you have a cool log of looking back, you know. So especially like, imagine you're sailing and you're in a squall and everything's going crazy and you're not able to like look at all the, you know, wind speeds and all that because you're handling the ship, and then after the fact you can go back and like check back and see what you had been through. Sometimes you might be disappointed that it wasn't more than you thought, and sometimes you might be like, oh wow, I didn't realize that the winds were actually that high. So this is a really cool way to store all of that data. Really affordable little unit, and like I said, for me, the ability for people to be able to have the tracker through Predictwind and the blogs and everything, like for me, that's worth every penny to buy one of these units. All right, so now I want to talk a minute about Starlink versus Iridium Go. I have Starlink on board, and I shut it off for ocean passages because I have no interest in full connectivity at sea. I also don't trust Starlink at all as far as like reliability goes. This, up until recently, was the first time I ever had any problems, but I never had any problems downloading the weather. I would do it sometimes 10 times a day out of like paranoia about something was coming. And I have the external marine antenna, and I never had problems. Like it's the like little flip up antenna isn't as, it's slower than if you have the actual rail mounted antenna, which is what I have. And I have never had any problems downloading weather and being able to check it whenever I want. And you have the possibility to send simple text messages to your people ashore, so you can keep in touch with people, ask for advice, or, you know, just be able to stay in touch with your loved ones through simple text messages on the Iridium Go. With Starlink, like, first of all, it's like, I think being able to like endlessly scroll social media when you're at sea removes the actual experience, a huge part of the actual experience of passage making. Like in this day and age, it's rare for us to get the opportunity to literally like check out, to like unplug. And I think especially new sailors who have never done an ocean crossing except with Starlink installed, they're robbing themselves of a very important part of ocean crossing and ocean sailing. To where, yeah, you can get access to weather and everything if you have Starlink installed, but you can do the same thing with Iridium Go. And as I mentioned, like, I find this to be far more reliable. This thing, my one that failed, I had for, I think, 3 or 4 years before it failed, and put close to 12,000 miles on it, where I bought the Starlink in New Zealand. I had probably had it 4 months, and then when my Iridium Go failed at sea, I tried to like return on the Starlink, and it wouldn't connect to the network for 48 hours. So it just wouldn't connect. It was like stuck in stow mode. So, and that was brand new, like it brand new, and it would not connect. So it's not like, you know, you can really trust that system. And even coastally, we've tried to, I keep it turned off because the Starlink, that's another thing to talk about. The Starlink has a really high power draw. Like it's very, very power hungry, where the Iridium Go absolutely is not power hungry. So that Starlink will just like really put the drain on your batteries. So we keep it turned off when we're not using it. We've even turned it on coastally to try to get access when our cell phones went out of service and we needed to check something online. And it wouldn't connect even in small swells. It just refused to connect. So I think the Starlink, first of all, the technology of it, it just feels very, very unreliable. Where this is very, very reliable. Now, another negative when it comes to Starlink is I have the Roam package, and I set it up in New Zealand, and I thought you could easily transfer from when you go country to country. And the way it's set up is it's like the Roam package. If you're near to the region where you are, then it's on the Roam package, you're paying X amount a month. Once I sailed to Australia and I activated it, then I was on like Mobile Global or something like that, because it wasn't near to where I set it up. And I looked into just transferring it to Australia, and it's quite a bit more expensive. It was quite a bit more expensive for this mobile global. And you can't just easily transfer it. Even though it's called the Roam package, they make you actually cancel your service, and then resell the equipment, resell it to yourself under a different email address. You can't use the same email address. Set up a whole new account, and then it's activated. So I had to do that here. And the reason is, I'll get to in a second. But when I did that, they were still going to bill me for both. They sent me an invoice for like the New Zealand one and the other, even though I'd already canceled. So I had to issue a support ticket because there's no phone number I could find to call them. I issued a support ticket being like, you guys are about to bill me for 2 different services that I don't even have access to. And so they ended up saying, okay, well, we've canceled that invoice. So that was like a little stressful because that's a lot of money. The main reason I ended up going ahead and going through the whole transfer process was because I got an email, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, that said the cost of mobile global was increasing by 70%. So it was going to go from like around $200 US a month to over $400 US a month. And I couldn't believe the jump. And they said it was going to happen in 3 months' time, but for new customers, it was an instant sort of cost. I couldn't believe a company would just like more than double the cost of their service. Like, that is so unreliable. You know, and what stops them from doing that again? It's just, I was shocked. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that currently they have a monopoly. They have no competition, so they can do whatever they want. I know Amazon is launching satellites, so hopefully in the next year or two, maybe their service will be online, and at least then there'll be a competitor in the field, so you can, you know, that'll stabilize it, and then you can move to whoever's the cheaper of the two or more reliable or whatever. Lesser of two evils, I know. But I was just blown away. I think not only is the technology with Starlink unreliable, but the leadership at Starlink is unreliable. So it's just really, you know, Iridium Go, Predictwind, very reliable. And yeah, like, especially like Iridium Go, it is expensive, the monthly cost, but when it comes down to it, like when you're putting off to sea, when you would be paying for that service at sea, you're not going to have a lot of expenses. Well, most of us won't have a lot of expenses at sea because you're not spending any money. And it's like crucially important for the safety of the ship. Again, you don't have to have it, but I enjoy knowing what weather's coming at me. And again, I enjoy the tracker aspect, so I don't mind paying the price for Iridium Go service when we put back to sail across the Indian Ocean next year. So, thank you so much, Predictwind, for our new kit. Very excited about it, and I'll be installing this data hub and letting you guys know in a future episode how everything went with it, and we'll revisit this as I gain some experience with it. Thanks for watching. Check out the links down below for Predictwind and all the gear that they sent us, and let me know if you have any questions down in the comments, and I will answer them. Fair winds until next time. If you enjoy the content on this channel and would like to contribute, you can consider joining the Patreon crew. Thanks for watching. Fair winds until next time.